you know. And there was another thing that happened. You remember when after she passed on, we sent someone, our friend Magda, she went to get her stuff from the school. And she came up with this backpack that Miriam loved. It was yellow. And she was, every day when she was having it on her back. And we never knew that on it said, escape to paradise. We didn't realize till my friend went and she packed up all her stuff and she brought it back. And we looked at that bag and said, what? Escape to paradise? So has she been carrying her future on her back all along and we didn't know? I mean, there are things that I can count one after the other and wonder, wow.
God has prepared us in an amazing way, really. One thing which I can remember looking back is when we went to California a week before the accident. The kids, they were with our friends, Dr. Lisanu and Makeda. Miriam was, of course, she's a 5-year-old and asking all kinds of questions. And she was saying, Tia Makeda, who gave you this house? I think the question that she asked her. And she told her, Gaizodo has built this house for us, for his family. And this is a beautiful house and this and that. And Miriam said, do you know, Tia Makeda, Jesus has a big, big house for me in heaven. And that's a week before she passed on. And one thing that really amazed me is, how she came up and she thinks a house in heaven for her by Jesus, not a house that I can build. For some reason, that's not the house for her. So she knew that. I mean, that always amazed me.
The day I decided to leave my job, which was a good paying job, it was a lot of status, all that, to live on one salary, and then we decided to move, I believe that God was really step by step helping me to make the right decision, even though it didn't feel right to people. People were saying, you left your job, this is big, how come, But I was saying, no, the job can wait, my kids won't wait. It's okay, I can always go back to it. So we left. But he gave me that time one-on-one with her especially. And he knew that he would take him home someday. But he gave me that time with her. And there's so many little things that I go back and I cherish. I cherish them. People say that memories are treasures. Yes, they're treasures. You hold on to them. You smile.
Yes.
Like I said before, I can't even begin to understand or try and comprehend the different emotions that you all would have been feeling in that kind of situation with your child and the loss of your child. So mourning looks so different for every single person, and it's affected by things like personality or the situation at hand. So how did you all deal with mourning as individuals, and then how did you mourn together as a couple?
Mourning is a process. I have met people who want to, who stay in it, who stay in that darkness and choose to stay in that darkness because they feel that they have the right. I have the right to be angry at God. Okay, but for how long? Okay, he will allow you to be angry at him. Yes, he will understand. And if you cry, he will cry with you. I know Jesus wept with me. I know that for sure. I was reading about Lazarus the other day, and he wept for Lazarus, even though he knew he would raise him up, and he wept for him. And I knew when I was weeping, the Lord was weeping with me, because he's a man who's acquainted with sorrows. That's what he says in Isaiah. He's familiar with sorrow. He knows. But the problem would be to stay in that. And that's where the enemy wants you to stay. But the Lord is saying, come out. I am with you. Come to me, and I will heal you. I have the oil in my hands. Come to me. And he wants us to take that step to come. He wants us to take that step. He wants us to decide to come. I always say he's a gentleman, And Maggie always corrects me, he's a gentle God, but he waits for our will. He has given us that will. Say, Lord, come and open the door. When we crack that door open, he comes in and heals us. And that's what he does.
A few weeks before that, the church we used to go is the Baptist church. And the pastor was teaching on Baptist doctrine. He was teaching, the salvation of children. And that was always a question that I used to struggle. I really, when children die, where would they go? And he was teaching really in a very elaborate and concrete way. It caught my attention, and I really absorbed it. And a week before that, I usually watch CNN after church on Sunday. And that particular Sunday, it was a rerun of Larry King, who was interviewing different people, and different people from different religions. And a Muslim was there, and a Jewish rabbi was there. So John MacArthur was there, and he turned his face towards him and said, "How about when children die? Where is God in that?" With the question. He was kind of mocking him. And John MacArthur was answering it just the same way the pastor answered it, And even though they died before the age of accountability, and they didn't receive Christ, that the blood of Christ cleansed them, and they will be with Him. I needed that before the accident. Of course, even the relationship Miriam had with Jesus, I knew for sure that she was saved. I knew for sure that where she would be when she passed on. So when the accident happened, as I said earlier, when I touched her body, a truth that I can say palpable, honestly, entered me. So I knew that where she is. So that has helped me through the process of all the grief. Though I was grieving and I was crying, and of course, the loss is a loss of a child, but it was bearable. And God has made me stronger also probably for my wife and for the family too. Of course, we grieve very differently. I don't know if I said it earlier, but me and Azeb are opposite in many ways. So really, our grief is also, the way we grieved is also very different. But she understood me in such a way that didn't really pull us apart, or I understood her, so we're still together. But I have seen so many lives that have been affected negatively, that a husband and wife, their relationship have been destroyed really because of this grief. Even from the first day, really one thing which he made me understand is I cannot stand by myself, really. I don't have the strength, and we have nothing, really. So I cannot afford to keep him outside, is what I understood. He has to come in. So the fact that we allowed him in, and the fact that we grieved with him, has helped us really to go through this. And we're standing together. In fact, if there is anything I can say right now is, our marriage is strong. And if I say why, because we allowed him in.
Yeah.
So that's all I
that's
have
so
to say.
true. That's so true. That what you said was women and men grieve differently.
Right. Yeah.
Men want to, especially if he's the breadwinner, he has to stand for his family. He has to go work and make money. Otherwise, they're going to starve. So he has to be strong. And that's what Mengi did. He was strong. But also, he understood that I have a different personality. He understood what my children meant to me and what Miriam meant to me. So he allowed me to grieve my way. He never imposed, hey, stand on your feet, I'm okay, and you have to. No, he allowed me. He allowed me to grieve. If I have to cry, he allowed me. But there were times we said, he knew if I kept crying the whole night and the whole day, that's going to affect everybody. So he told me, please, kasabe, ibakal. So he was there. And I felt all along there was this man next to me who understood what I was going through, and was willing to hold me all along till I'm on my feet again. The problem that we see in families is that the husband and wife grieve differently. He cannot tolerate her, or she cannot tolerate him. Either way, you're going to be, if he breaks you, you're two broken people walking life alone. How about being together through brokenness, pulling each other? If one falls, the other one will pick him up. And they limp through the whole thing, and they are together. And that's what happened to us. Yeah. So this thing brought us together. Because, like Mengi said, we are always on our knees and crying, Lord, we can't, but you can. It's always not just the two of us, but there is this God who was there with us.
Invite him in.
Invite him in.
Yes.
And it's no wonder that the Bible says, the God of all comforts. The God of all comforts, you know? And when I define all comforts, it's all these people, the community that came, all the flowers that were sent, all the cards that were coming through the mailbox. And to the mailbox, I remember my mailbox was just, an avalanche of cards. It's all the visits. It's all the food that was, brought. That's all for comfort. But he is the God of all comforts. So above all this, there's this God who is the one who's going to bring the ultimate comfort. And he says also, with that comfort that we have received, we comfort others. So if we talk about being comforted, it's because we have experienced this God of all comforts. And we give that comfort to other people and tell them it's possible through him. Not alone, through him and together.
So crazy to think that such an awful situation could bring you guys closer together as a couple and then also closer to the Lord. So that's really, really beautiful to hear. How did your daughters mourn, though? Leah and Ruth were actually in the car with you when you were in that accident. So how did it affect their mourning? And then how did you all mourn together as a family?
If I look back and regret, we both regret, really, in many different ways. In how we processed this grief with our daughters. Of course, one thing is, when Azeb was grieving for herself, one thing she forgets is also that we're grieving. I truly regret that, I don't think we helped our daughters to process this grief in their level, in their own way. As Ethiopians, as Abishas, we have our own support group, and there are adults who come, to us and helped us to grieve, in a very different way. I am not sure to this day that the healing process has happened in them as it should. But the good thing is, life is a process. As time goes on, I see that they're processing it. But I don't think that process of grief was as easy for them as it was for us. Of course, one other big issue, in this particular case is really, we are Ethiopians, they are not, unfortunately. So really, I think, of course, as expected, there is a significant gap between us.
When we lost Miriam, for me, I'm going to speak for myself, I thought it was me who lost her. But I didn't realize my husband had lost a daughter too, and my daughters had lost a sister as well. I thought the grief was just mine. When people came to comfort us, it was for everybody, but I thought it was just for me because here's Azib who lost her daughter. And I looked at myself and I said, how selfish. How about my daughters? They lost their sister too. And it took me a long time to realize that. Till my daughter, one of them, Ruthie, told me, Mommy, did you realize that we lost a sister too? And I wept and I apologized. Why did this happen? It's because our tendency in our culture is that we're able to grieve with other people. People come, and Kentucky was beautiful for that. The community was there.
Yes.
Our friends from everywhere around the world were calling or flying into the small town. And we were surrounded with all these friends. It was like a reunion. It felt good and we were supported. But did I get up my seat and say, how is Ruthie doing? How is Leah doing? And I would look up, they're with their friends, they're okay. No. They should have been there with me, and the friends can come and join us and really hold them in our arms. Hold their hands, talk to them, get in the back and tell them, Ruthie, how are you doing? Have that one-on-one. And I don't think we did that. And looking back, that's what I would have done. I was watching a video the other day of of a kid who had, taken his life. His little brother was standing in front of a huge congregation and talking about his brother whom he had lost. I was watching and I was almost in tears. And I said, where are the parents to stand next to him? This is a little boy facing a huge crowd.
By himself.
By himself. Yeah. This is traumatic for this kid. I was almost in tears. Where's mommy? Where's dad to say it's going to be okay? He was facing the whole crowd and he was, broken. But nobody was there. Hold him, touch him, and telling him, yes, you're in pain. We're in pain too. And we're with you. Nobody was there. And I think that's the tendency that we have as Habesha people, that when we lose a loved one, we make it just about the parents. How about the kids in the back who are suffering in silence? Or even go to college, have to see a psychiatrist or a therapist because we didn't deal with it the right way. We, the parents, didn't do it. And we had that problem. And I have to admit, but I don't want anyone who's watching this to repeat that. When you lose someone, think about the little ones. Think about the sons and the daughters who have lost loved ones as well. Because, that person who's gone is a limb gone for them as well, not just for you.
Yeah.
Having a community, especially in times like this, can be extremely vital and beneficial. And unfortunately, some people don't have that. They don't have a community to mourn with them and to share in their grief with them. So how beneficial was it for you all to have that community, whether it was your family, your friends, or your church family? How did they help you in the grieving and mourning of your daughter?
Even during that time when we had the funeral and the church service, I stood in front of the church and in front of the people that came and really thanked them and was really grateful for the support we received. So there is no doubt, the church family and, the family and friends we have is amazing, honestly. People came from all over, people that we haven't seen for years, drove hours, 10 hours, 15 hours, and, they were there with us. And the church family was amazing, honestly. One thing that I can say for sure is, the support we received from Kentuckians, from the people in Somerset, Kentucky, has transformed us. Truly, I don't think I have appreciated and loved Kentuckians before that, but now I feel that it's my home because of that experience. People were there for us, and they cried with us, and they understood our pain, and we didn't feel alone.
Did you guys experience anything bad? Is there anything that you wish didn't happen or that people didn't say to you during that time?
Of course, in this process, not everything is positive. Not everything is positive. People would say things that they shouldn't say. They try to say that they understand you. Things that people would say, for example, if need be, God would give you another child. It's not replaceable. You cannot replace Miriam with another child.
What I saw was 2 or 3 categories. You have those who come and tire you with questions. They want to know the details of the accident, and that's not something I want to talk about. You feel bad not telling, but you feel bad also telling because it's painful. It's like reliving the whole thing again. Or people might give you a verse. That's not what you want to hear then. You're dealing with your loss. Or might want to preach you. You don't want that either. It's good, but not now. Not now. Or, there's judgment also. Do you make this girl an idol? Have you made her an idol? I remember someone saying that to me. It sounds spiritual, but it breaks you. One thing I will never forget, though, of the Kentuckians that came, is that they just sat next to me and held my hand, just like this, and said nothing. They said nothing. Just held my hand. Or ride my back. That's it. And that meant a lot to me. That was 1,000 words. What I've learned, and which I don't do to other people, is not to talk much. I'm sorry about your loss, and sit and say nothing. Just be there. For days. It's okay. you know, or you can ask, do you need anything? Can I get you water? Do you need anything? Don't even suggest if it's water or juice or something. Can I get you something? And I would say, yes, get me water. Oh, no, thank you. That's it. So I would advise people not to say much. The more we say, probably we break that person or give that person the private, and if you, I remember someone who's a preacher, and I was saying this thing. He said, you know what? It made me realize that when I go place where people have lost, because I'm a preacher, I stand up and start preaching. But it made me think that the person who's grieving should be given that priority, and I should go there. Do you mind if I say a few words from God's word? If she says no, it's okay. I think the Lord won't hold us against us because he understands pain. He's a God. He's familiar with pain. Christ is familiar. He's a man of sorrows. He knows. So we have to allow people to grieve their way and not invade their privacy.
Even though, a death of a child is big, a death of a child is so painful, but at the same time, for me, for my own experience, as much as it hurt me, it also healed me, truly.